We're not giving D'Lo an extension. Tim Conley, my Towson boy, we're both from the same area in Maryland. Tim Conley and I. I mean, obviously Tim Conley's like 20 years older than me, maybe 30 years older than me, but he went to the Towson Catholic. It's a defunct private school in Maryland. It's where Melo went. I know so many people who played with Melo or went to Towson Catholic, but listen to this, guys. D'Angelo Russell is playing out the final season of his 4-year maximum deal that he signed in 2019. Obviously, if you guys don't know, D'Angelo Russell is extension eligible with the Minnesota Timberwolves, but it doesn't seem like the 26-year-old guard will have an extension coming his way, because on a recent episode of The Scoop with Darren Wolfson, guest Brian Windhorst said about D'Angelo Russell, quote, "I haven't heard any discussion of him getting an extension," end quote. Wolfson agreed by adding, quote, "Well, I think Russell's representations have reached out to the Wolves, but it doesn't seem like it's being reciprocated," end quote. If you guys did not know, D'Angelo Russell signed his current deal with the Brooklyn Nets as part of a sign and trade to the Golden State Warriors. That deal sent Kevin Durant, also via sign and trade, to Brooklyn. Russell was traded at the 2020 deadline to Minnesota in exchange for Andrew Wiggins, who Andrew Wiggins just got himself a 4-year, $109 million extension. However, because D'Angelo Russell's on an expiring contract, Russell will remain extension eligible throughout the league year, which is June till, June 30th, which, the following day is the first day of free agency. So, good thing about this is if D'Angelo Russell comes out and ice in the veins, we'll be fine. He'll get it. He'll get himself an extension. Now, what's the main problem is, look, $31 million a year we're paying him. I'm sorry, D'Lo. Kevin Porter Jr. just got, I believe, 4 years, $82 million, which was basically a $20 million, 20.5 a year. I'll pay you Kevin Porter Jr. money. I'll pay you $20 million a year. I'm fine with that. And I don't know if that's D'Lo. If Andrew Wiggins took 4 years, $109 million, I'm not paying you more than that. Okay? And I think that's something that people don't realize is what would you pay? First off, before we continue the video, and you have to understand why the Wolves are fine with not paying D'Lo, and that's because they have on the roster Jordan McLaughlin, who we're huge fans of. Okay, we drafted Mateo Spagnuolo, who's overseas for another season. We have Austin Rivers on the roster. I'm not saying he's our future point guard. Wendell Moore can also pass. I'm not saying he's our future point guard. We have Jalen Noel, who's more of a shooting guard, 6-man. We have Bryn Forbes, and they have a lot of guards on this team, and I feel like replacing a guard of D'Angelo's caliber, which is the caliber that we've seen of the last year or so, and this is only reason is I think they're doing this is to motivate him after an abysmal playoffs, because look, what ended up happening with D'Angelo Russell was pre-All-Star. D'Angelo was cool. I mean, he wasn't the most effective guy, but D'Angelo, he was shooting about the ball 16 times a game. He was shooting about 8 threes a night at 41%. And he continued to be a good three-point shooter. But the thing is he was a 35% three-point shooter, okay, and then fell to 31%, went from a 19 points per game score, dishing out 7 assists, to 16 points per game score. And I know that's not a big deal, but look, D'Angelo Russell was a guy that even in his first season or first 12 games with the Wolves, he was dropping 21 points per night. Even in his second season, he was great. If we could see how Russell was in 2020 to 21, where he played, 42 games, he was shooting 43% from the field, 38 from 3, almost 39, dishing out, and there's 6 assists. He's gotten better. And the whole thing is if D'Lo can look like what he was in Brooklyn, and even in his first, in his 30 or so games with Brooklyn, okay, was a guy who shoots, 42, 43, 44% from the field, 37% from 3 on 8 attempts a night, dishes out 7 assists, has under 3 turnovers a night, gets you about a steal a game, and, drops 20 or so points a night. That's what we're wanting. And obviously that has not happened. I mean, I feel bad for D'Angelo Russell? Of course. I know this isn't entirely his fault. It's not like D'Angelo Russell is sitting here being like, I'm doing this on purpose. I just think he needs to buy in fully that he is a floor general for this team. He's not, okay, the guy that we thought he was going to be. But, hey, I think the whole thing is people are just acting like he's just fallen off and that he's never going to be the player that we hoped he would be. But I still think it's all okay. And these are just going to be, people are just acting as if like this is a guy whose career's over. This guy was an all-star and he still can get there. He's only 26 years old. It's just on this roster, he needs to be the third scorer behind Cat and Edwards, and then he can score. And he needs to, when he gets to score, he has to be the most efficient scorer because he's going to get the least amount of touches out of all of them. So he's got to be able to take advantage of those said touches. And yeah, I just think that is something that is somewhat difficult to do because that's not what everyone's like accustomed to being able to do. So that's definitely something I want to hear from you guys. What do you guys think of this situation? Are you guys in agreement with me that it is an interesting way that to deal with your, future, and having to understand that this, it's not like it's their fault, necessarily, because D'Angelo Russell, in my opinion, very much deserving of the opportunity to continue being a Timberwolves, because I'd rather have D'Angelo Russell as a Timberwolves sooner rather than like to stay than have him leave, and so for me, I think that's a big part of it. And yeah, I want to hear your guys' thoughts. Was there anything I missed that you guys would have liked to have heard, or that, I think it's definitely all just interesting stuff. But yeah, that's basically it for me today, guys. I want to hear your opinions. If there was anything I missed that you guys would have liked to hear, I'm down to hear your comments down below in the comment section. But that's basically it from me. And I'm a peace out, A-Town style. But yeah, I doubt that we have anything more to talk about. But yeah, I think it's definitely something interesting to think about due to the fact that just the whole situation is, it's different. It's something that most people aren't accustomed to seeing, where, their top guard potentially might not be in the roster come this time next year. And I've always been a big fan of D'Lo. I've always wanted his success. We needed to get rid of Wiggins, so we can't even say that like that was our fault. Like, Wiggins wasn't going to become the player that he has become in Minnesota. That wasn't going to happen. So I mean, at the end of the day, we just had to cut our losses and move on. And yeah, so I know it's not something that most people want to hear, but it's just kind of how it was. So bye. Well, also check out our NBA show at this point, because this was an 8-minute video. So fuck me. Am I right? But no, like legitimately, this was an 8-minute video. So I am going to have to just let y'all be until this gets to the 8-minute marker. So goodbye.